Hey everybody, and happy Tuesday. It's Jim. It's Amadeus. Amadeus, all kinds of fun stuff going on here. We're at Super Bowl week. College basketball is in full throttle, and today, uh, we all know Vegas is where everything's happening. And an interesting thing came down, and that was the mayor of Las Vegas, holding court, said, "You know what? Might not be a bad idea if Oakland's baseball team stays in Oakland." That
Yeah,
that kind of like went over like a lead balloon with some people in Vegas. But to be honest, I've talked to a lot of people out there, and nobody wants baseball.
yeah. I saw what was it specifically the teachers union, I believe, was
Yeah,
suing the state over
yeah,
that money going towards a stadium for a baseball team that
hmm
nobody wants. And if anything, if you're gonna give us a baseball team, just expand it. Don't give us the crappy A's.
Well, the funny thing is, I don't think people realize how much the Aviators, which is the AAA team, ironically for the Athletics, the AAA team is a part of that community. And I think they're happy with just a AAA baseball team. I don't. I think Vegas is a city. You've been there. I've been there many, many times. It's a big little city. It, it it's one of those cities that you think of it and you think of it as large, but it isn't. I mean, it's not a big town. It's stretched out all over the place, but for all intents and purposes, it's really not a big place. And the concept of having perhaps, they got a hockey team there. There's thoughts of bringing a basketball team there. They've got a football team there. Um, and it's traditionally, yeah, there's people moving there, but I don't think that baseball is, I don't, I don't think baseball's a good fit for Vegas under any circumstances. I know about
Yeah,
Major League Baseball.
yeah, there's definitely a lot going on in the city
Hmm.
alone. It's
Sure.
obviously it's always packed when you get there, and
Right.
the streets are already a mess. But yeah,
Sure.
I mean, most people I know who live in Las Vegas,
Hmm.
they live on the outskirts, and they don't
Right.
ever want to come to the strip or into downtown
Right.
unless they absolutely have to. So
Right.
yeah, it's just it's a very busy city already as it is. Obviously, it's known for traditional gambling and
Hmm.
things like that. But yeah, like they as you said, they've already given them a hockey team, and the city got behind the hockey team. They
Hmm.
they love the Golden
100%.
Knights.
Yeah.
Now, do you really want to throw another one into the mix now that maybe they're not going to get so much behind? So
Well, there's also the concept of how much money can a city put out to build a building for a team that at best probably would sell out maybe 15 or 20 times a year out of 81 times that you play in the house. It's look, hockey is a 17. I think that arena out there, T-Mobile arena out there, seats maybe 16 or 17,000, and then there's the luxury boxes and all that stuff. So basically, you think maybe 20,000 tops. But they like it. I mean, they like the hockey. Baseball's a whole different animal. It's 81 home games, and what the other thing is, if I'm either the Raiders or the Golden Knights, I'm fighting against it because there's corporate money out there, right? But there's only so much corporate dollars that you can take. So you take the corporate dollars away from the Golden Knights and the Raiders, you get all this public money that's being invested in there. Do you really need, a Major League Baseball team? And the answer to the question is if Lewis Wolf is not ready to pony up a sizable chunk of the over $1 billion it's going to take to put together, a stadium out there, then there's really no reason to do it.
yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where the A's stay. I'm very curious as to or if they're going to try and relocate to maybe another city. Obviously, this has been in the works for a while now
Right.
with Las Vegas. So that if that really is a no go, then there's going to be a lot for the athletics franchise to consider.
Well, the logical step 2 here is Salt Lake, because Salt Lake City has said they would love the baseball team, they would entertain it. The city and the and the fathers who are out there working at it are definitely they're ready to get into it. The question becomes, do you want to get into an agreement with Lewis Wolf, who hasn't exactly been the guy who has held his word on a number of different projects.
Yeah,
There,
that's
there
the
were two
thing, right?
baseball deals. There were two baseball stadium deals offered in Oakland. He agreed to both of them, then didn't agree to them.
Yeah, we're also talking about a guy that traded away basically the whole team just to purposefully put
Mm-hmm.
out a AAA product in a professional league. So
Mm-hmm.
do you really want that, right? Like, I understand Salt Lake wants a baseball team.
They
Do they
don't. They
want?
may not want. Yeah, you're right. They may not want Lewis.
That's the
Wolf
thing, right? Like,
Stadium.
do they want an expansion team? Because that was a big thing. A lot of what I read with the move to Las Vegas, there
Mm-hmm.
were people in Las Vegas who want a baseball team. They
Mm-hmm.
just don't want the athletics. They want, an
Right.
expansion team, brand new franchise, similar to what they got with the Golden Knights. That's
Right.
what they want to get behind. Fresh start, not this where, because I think that's what you're seeing is teams have
Mm-hmm.
this almost this bad filter over the athletics, and you view it like you're getting really a mess of a team.
Right. And to a great extent, it's a matter of if you're going to if this team is leaving, wherever they are. We'll say in this case, obviously, we use Oakland as the example. If they're usually leaving Oakland, why? There's got to be a reason there. It's not like Oakland doesn't have, places to build stadiums. If I'm going to fork over a ton of public money to get into bed with somebody who is who has been less than forthright in what goes on, I'm not so certain that's a good idea. Carolyn Goodman, who is the mayor of Las Vegas, told our buddies at Front Office Sports today that honestly, Oakland should be given the opportunity to keep the baseball team. She doesn't think that they're a good fit. She doesn't think that that Vegas is ready for baseball right now. And she said the deal that was on that plot of land at the Tropicana is really a good fit. And to be honest with you, it's 9 acres of land. 9 acres of land. You cannot build a baseball stadium on 9 acres of land. I mean, unless you have valet parking, that's about the size you can put the stadium there, but you have no place to park.
Yeah, and that's when you got to start considering underground parking and things like that. Like, we
Yeah.
have a lot of that in Toronto. There's no
Mm-hmm.
parking lots at any of these stadiums. There are parking lots, but they're all underground level type of parking
Right.
lots. So yeah, it's one of those things where the A's. I agreed that with the fact that Oakland should be given a chance to keep the team, and it makes me wonder, what's going on with this ownership. Just because we've talked a lot about the ownership of
Mm-hmm.
the A's over the last year, but it's one of those things where as you said, they've had deals to build a stadium. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
Oakland is the one that's saying absolutely not. It's
Get the
not
hell out of here,
happening,
right?
right? Like,
Yeah.
they've tried, and the owner's not a reasonable person that is obviously up for negotiation. And
Mm-hmm.
same sense now with Vegas. You don't know, as you said, you don't know who you're getting into bed with here. he's obviously a guy where you've had the chance to build the stadium. You have a bunch, and if for him it's about money, where oh well we're not filling the stadium. Well,
Right.
You got to have a good stadium first for fans to show up, and the fans have voiced their opinion many times. It's not like you don't have a fan base in Oakland. They want the team.
Right.
They just want a new stadium, and
Mhm.
you're doing everything in your power to, if anything, piss more people off than make people happy by just moving the stadium or moving the team away from the city, because that's what you want as the owner. And
Right.
a lot of these cities are going to look at that and say, is this somebody you can do business with? Because they're obviously not a reasonable person and they're not willing to listen. It's my way or the highway with the
Right.
Oakland Athletics, it seems to be.
Well, look at the poor folks at Oakland has been used and used and used over again. I mean, the Raiders moved out of Oakland, went to Los Angeles, moved back to Oakland, then moved to Vegas. You had this situation where forever, the Oakland Coliseum played the basketball area next to the Coliseum, played host to for many years the Warriors. That was the Warriors' home. When San Francisco decided to build a brand new arena, uh, the deal was so good it was hard for them not to do it. So you're right. It's not that Oakland hasn't tried. I mean, that would be the one last team that they could keep, professional sports team. There'd be no reason to let it go if they could. So we'll see, but doesn't look like Oakland is moving anytime soon. Let's just put it that way. When you got the mayor of the city that you're hoping to move to saying, not a bad idea if you stay there. I think you've you got a little bit of a problem going on there. Not for nothing. Clayton Kershaw signed his 17th contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So 17 seasons for Special K out in Los Angeles. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out because Kershaw, has not finished a season in the past 3 or 4 seasons because he's had arm trouble during the course of the season. So I think he's one of those situations where he just wants to, start his career with the Dodgers and end it with the Dodgers.
Yeah, well, someone's got to take Otani's place in the rotation.
In the rotation, yeah, true.
So he's a guy they know. He's a guy they love. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't hate it, right? I mean, I'm surprised he's still pitching in
Right.
MLB at all. Hanging up the glove is a different story. Maybe it might be time to hang up the glove just with all the aging and the injury problems he's had. But hey, if he wants to give it another shot, I mean, good on the Dodgers, keeping him around. They're going to need the help at least for now.
Well, he's got the hometown discount, so there's that.
Exactly right.
Not the Otani hometown discount, which everybody in baseball would love to have. But this one's a kind of a cool one. All right. One other quick thing before we move on and talk a little bit about Super Bowl. If you're not familiar with Matt Snyder, Matt is a writer for CBS. You can get him at cbssports.com. And he is he does what he calls Welcome to the Snyder Soapbox. And what it is more than anything, it's like Tony Kornheiser. You sit there and you listen to what bothers them in the world, and sometimes it's humorous, and sometimes it's it's fun, and you don't have to take it too very seriously. And this week he's talking about the sabermetrics at baseball. It's like don't and say how sabermetrics has gotten involved in sports. Hello, Dan Campbell, right? So basically, his point is just because the math adds up doesn't mean it works. So that's the gist of Snyder's Soapbox this week, where he pontificates on how Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, and the NFL has fallen in love with analytics, and sometimes analytics, can, some, as he puts it, sometimes 4 + 4 doesn't equal 8.
Yeah, well, I think Bruce Arians said it best on the Manning cast when
Hmm.
the Mannings asked him about, oh, there was I believe it was a fourth and short, and they were talking about, oh,
Hmm.
the analytics say go for it. What would you do in this situation? And Bruce Arians started it off with, you know. I don't know who wrote this book. Everybody keeps saying, well, the book says go for it. I don't know who wrote this book. All right.
Right.
I would go for it in this situation, but I don't know who wrote the book. And I think that just pretty much sums it up, right? Because it's like,
Right.
everybody says, oh, the analytics, you should go for it. You should go.
Mm.
Who says though, right? We've seen many times how about when the Bucks stopped the Eagles tush push on the 1 yard line,
Right.
right? That's the analytics would have said, the Eagles are going to get this 100% of the time, and
Right.
sure enough, they got stopped in that instance. And as you said, it's why the games are played. Not all the time. Just because the paper says 4 + 4 =
Mm.
8 doesn't mean it's going to all the time. Obviously,
Right.
that's not how math specifically works, but
Right.
that's how sports works, and that's why the games are played. Because if Vegas was always right, and a team was favored by
Hmm.
12 points, then they should win the game by 12 every time. But
Hmm.
obviously, the games get played, and this is why we have upsets. So, yeah,
Right.
the analytics are not always going to be right.
Right. And sometimes, you know, the old school coaches will play their gut over the analytics. They'll basically say, look, I see what it says on that piece of paper, but I'm sorry, I cannot do that. And I'll just go. And sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, but
Yeah.
it's worth a shot. So there you
And
go.
that's the thing though with that, right? Like sometimes you have to trust your gut in those situations,
Mhm.
because there's a reason you're getting paid as the coach. You're there to make those decisions, not the analytics. You are watching the game, you know your players, you know how your team plays. If you see your offense is struggling in a game, but your defense is playing well and it's a
Mhm.
tight game, maybe kick the field goal instead of going for it on the 4th and 1, because those 3 points could end up being the difference in the game. Sometimes you have to just watch the game and trust your gut on, how you've judged this game is going to go.
Well, that you brought up another very good point. That is, let's say you have faith in your field goal kicker, right? To do it, or you have faith in your back or wide receivers or quarterback to get that 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever yards, right? If you miss it, do you have equal faith that your defense, because you're going to give someone a shorter field, can hold them? So your analytics on one side says offensively, go for it. But on the defensive side, is it a wise choice if you screw up and don't get it?
Yeah, and we've seen teams do that before. I remember even seeing a video the other day of when I forget who it was, but it was a few years ago. They ran into the end zone by accident because they wanted to,
Oh, I
kneel.
see. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they wanted to like kneel the time away because the
Mhm.
coach had no faith in the defense, giving the ball back to the other team
Mhm.
with a minute to go. They wanted to milk that clock and kick the
Right.
field goal with nothing. Well, you know what? They punched it in the end zone by accident, and you end up losing. So that's just an example of how we see it all the time with those situations.
I saw one team. Was in college a couple years ago, where they were down. Um, they were. I'm sorry. They were up by 2 points, and it was a 3rd and like 4 from inside the red zone, and the ball snapped, and the defense literally just fell down like they had been shot. Just boom, fell down. The other team, the guy gets the ball and he just like runs instinctively into the end zone, which is exactly what they wanted him to do. They get the ball back, they go down the field, they score, they walk off. Hi, we're back. My fingers hit the wrong thing. I got to be careful with my gestures. So they get exactly what they want, which is the ball back, and the other team doesn't get to milk the clock because they literally are falling down. So Do you trip over them? What do you do? I mean, I have seen, as you said, guys, at the very last second kneel down on the 2-yard line when they realize, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to score. If we score, we'll score a little bit later. So, it is what it is, and it's got a little bit crazy. It's gotten a lot crazy.
We also saw it, I think, last year
Yeah.
in that Jets-Browns game,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The Browns punched it in,
Right.
thinking, oh, we're going to go up by – or Chubb anyway was like, we're going to go up by
Right.
2 scores when the coach was telling him, take the
knee.
take the slide or whatever. And,
Right.
Sure enough, we saw the Jets come back and win that game with the onside kick. So
Right.
it definitely happens.
Oh, man, anyway. It wouldn't be a day without Taylor Swift, and so there's been some crazy stuff going on here, even by the standards of what we are used to. Crazy number one, the Japanese government. That's right. The Japanese government has assured Taylor Swift that if she wants to go to the Super Bowl, they will, if she finishes her 4 concerts there, because that's the concern. They were concerned she might cancel a concert date. So they have said they will get her out of there, out of the Tokyo Dome, and to whatever airport, I guess, is closest to the Tokyo Dome. In a way, I mean, they're literally talking about police escorts, closing down roads, literally everything she needs to do to get to, to get to the airport to head for Tokyo. All right. So there's that part of the equation we can chat about in a second. The other one is a story that came out by one columnist. I don't know if it was Bill Pulaski or who, but it was a known columnist saying that perhaps the NFL should pay for Taylor's trip from Tokyo to Vegas. The jet, the whole 10 yards. So we're now on Tuesday. Okay. Travis Kelce had more than he could say about it yesterday because there were like 2,000 people at Media Day all around Travis Kelce, none of whom cared about what Travis Kelce was doing.
Not a single football question.
Right. It's like what football? Do you play football? So anyway, I mean, that's how crazy it's getting.
Yeah.
The Japanese government, fearing that Taylor would not, do that Saturday gig, is like, don't worry, we got you covered.
So we'll start with that one because we did the math and
right.
The math says there's more than enough time for her
analytics.
To do that concert.
Analytics, Amedeus.
Yes. The sabermetrics tell us that
Taylor sabermetrics.
Yeah, that she has more than enough time. She could get there the day before pretty much, and even party and have a nap. So I don't think canceling the travel time is going to be an issue.
Right.
What that tells me is Japan just had Lionel Messi and Inter Miami roll through town, and that's what that is. That's a little bit of fear out of we already spent money on one star to come and got screwed. We don't need you to screw us too because of the Super Bowl. So we'll make sure that you're all good. So that's what that tells me. The Japanese government's getting a little worried there after the Messi situation.
Absolutely. There is precedent for this. Okay. A number of years ago, it was announced that they were going to close Shea Stadium and build City Park in New York. So obviously, they wanted a concert to close down Shea Stadium. Who else would you get but Billy Joel? I mean, Long Island's own Billy Joel, who played that venue numerous times. Joel calls Paul McCartney and says, look, you guys, in 1964, when the stadium opened up, you guys played the stadium, and it would be cool if you could get to, to it. And he said, and McCartney goes, well, look, I got to be here, here, and here. I might be able to get there, but it's not going to be till late. So McCartney takes off, and they literally at LaGuardia Airport cleared airspace for he's flying coach now. I mean, not coach. He's flying commercial is what I meant to say. He's flying commercial. The commercial plane lands, all right. They get him through customs. They get him in a car. They drive him, with and the good news for those of you who don't understand how this distance-wise, LaGuardia is not that far from it might be 3 or 4 miles tops from Shea. So they whisk him out. Police goes, all that stuff, and he makes it to the stage to do a couple of songs with Joel and close out the program so that's a lot tighter than what we're talking about with Taylor Swift's deal, but it can be done. Joel showed us how to do it, and like I said, you've done the math on it, and our Taylor metrics tell us that she'll have plenty of time. So there you go. But in the waste of time that is media day, pretty much all of Kelsey's stuff was Taylor Swift focused, and even Brock Purdy got a question about Taylor Swift. So
I don't know what question they could possibly ask him about Taylor Swift.
Here's the question that they asked Brock Purdy. We understand you're a Taylor Swift fan, and Purdy goes, "Yeah, who isn't?" Right? He said, "Would you break Taylor's heart by beating the 49? I mean, I'm sorry, beating the Chiefs?" And he goes, "I like Taylor's music." He goes, "I'm not the one dating her." So he said, I have no problem winning the Super Bowl. And he goes, and then walking over and seeing if Travis will introduce me. But other than that, no, I think we're good. So, I mean, he handled it very, very, I thought he handled it, it was a stupid question, but he handled it with a sense of humor. And I thought, that's a very cool answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, he answered it the same way I would have answered it. I mean, yeah, I like Taylor Swift, but I'm not the one dating her. I have no problem. And I love how he even rubbed a little salt in the wound there. I'll beat Travis's ass and then I have him introduce me too.
Right,
right. I like the confidence from Purdy.
Say, hey, come on. This is they asked Andy Reid if the question, everybody's wondering if this is it for him, and he laughed. Being Andy Reid, he's a very, very dry, deadpan kind of guy. So they ask him about it, and Reid kind of like plays with his mustache for a minute and says, "And give up working on commercials with Patrick Mahomes." And it had nothing to do about football. It was, and give up commercials with Patrick Mahomes. So he
Mahomes and Maato. Are you kidding
me? We got alarms going off. We got phones going off. We got all kinds of. What time is it here? There we go. All right. So yeah, that was Andy's response to he didn't say no. So we don't know.
What if he retires? That's it for the commercials. Like,
nah,
you're telling me when Nick Saban retired, he stopped doing Aflac commercials? Like, come on.
No, he and Dion are going to do Aflac commercials, and regardless of who the coach is of the Chiefs, Andy's going to be always identified as the coach of the Chiefs, so it doesn't really much matter in that regard. One thing, and here's a guy who we both like a lot, and in the proverbial sadness category, Eric Bieniemy is without a job today.
Yeah, that disappointed. There's been a lot of disappointing ones in this coaching cycle, Jim. Him, Mike Vrabel. There's
Yeah.
just a few guys out there where I'm scratching my head, and like, I guess I understand not returning to Washington because they hired
Right.
Dan Quinn, and even though he was there, obviously he probably wants to bring in his own guys. There's no reason why Bieniemy can't get a job anywhere else. At this point, he was better off staying in Kansas City.
Well, I mean, the whole idea, in theory, the reason he didn't stay in Kansas City was not because Andy didn't want him. It was because Andy thought and had a conversation with Ron Rivera that there was some sort of, platform for Rivera to move into a front office position and Bieniemy to become the coach. Okay. On the upside of that, on the downside of that, they sold the team. So what plans that were in place for Ron Rivera changed. And when those changed, it changed for Eric Bieniemy as well. Here's the one part of this I don't like. And this, look, the new owners, we understand they have a lot of work to do, and I get that. But if you're not going to hire Eric Bieniemy, you should have let him go earlier. Whenever you hired, when you hired your new coach, you should have said, you know what, our guy, this is our guy. Sorry, greatly appreciate what you did for us here, and we'll let you go, because there were at least 3 or 4 opportunities still available at that point in time, and perhaps Eric Bieniemy would have gotten one of them. But to let him go yesterday was pretty. To me, that was very, very cold.
Yeah, definitely disappointed that he doesn't have a job out there. Disappointed Mike Vrabel's still jobless.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting now. Maybe somebody brings either of them onto the staff as we've seen in the past. They'll make up a role or some kind of like a assistant advisor role just to get them back in the swing of things for this year, and then maybe they can go out and find a permanent place next year. But very disappointing. I mean,
I could see Jim Harbaugh bring him on as a consultant.
Yeah, definitely could happen because he was supposed to bring his son, and now his son has decided to go join the Seahawks, which we had two of that happened this week too. It wasn't just him; someone else's son split from the dad to go coach. I forget which team it was though, but we had another one in the NFL where someone's son left the team to go coach with somebody else.
Yeah, well,
it was though.
I can't recall that either, but you're right. I mean, there's that kind of wackiness going on. We've got some, some Super Bowl situations here where now everybody's going to go basically off the grid. So the Chiefs and the 49ers are not available for any more opportunities to do press and that. They'll be out doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that's getting ready for a Super Bowl, which leaves a lot of gap of time for reporters who are out in Vegas to go out and find probably some pretty bizarre things to run down. It's Radio Row. A couple of guys, Boomer Esiason, who does a show in New York, and some CBS radio affiliates today, was welcoming Randy Moss, as he said, the former wide receiver superstar Randy Moss, only to find out that the Randy Moss that he actually had booked by his producer was the Randy Moss who used to be a general manager. So they go through all this and here's Randy Moss, and wait a minute, it's not the Randy Moss I thought we were going to talk to. So it's that kind of crazy that goes on Radio Row at this point in time. You're getting guys going from one station to another station to another station, and usually the only reason they're there is to sell something. So they get to talk about, a minute and a half about the about what goes on, with the Super Bowl, and then another 2 minutes about whatever the product is that they're hawking. So it's just another long line of the NFL making money and making very little content.
Yeah, speaking of Radio Row, I actually saw that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw that there was a record turnout this year of something
Yeah,
like
I was
160
surprised.
plus.
I was surprised for a couple of reasons. One, as we talked about, the cost, and two, the availability of anybody to talk to. I mean, it's just not there. So you're right. I saw that. I also saw that from a standpoint of, and this didn't surprise me at all, but it is going to be the most wagered on Super Bowl in history.
Yeah,
Now
well,
that doesn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form.
you got to keep in mind, states are slowly legalizing gambling.
Yeah,
So, like, yeah, 10 years ago it might have just been Nevada taking bets. Now you got, I don't know the exact number, obviously, but you got a lot more. And next year there'll probably be even more states available to bet in.
I will say a few years ago, I was supposed to work a Super Bowl out in Northern California when it was out in San Francisco, and at the last minute, I got a call saying, we're cool. The thing that we were supposed to do isn't going to happen. But this being said, we'll take care of, if you want to come, you can come. Or if you want, we'll instead of paying your way to Northern California, you can go to Vegas if you want. I'd never been to Vegas for a Super Bowl, so I thought, this might be cool. It is one of the most interesting places to watch a Super Bowl that I've ever seen in my life, with regard to seeing a Super Bowl and working Super Bowls at the site, and then seeing Vegas and how they handle Super Bowl. That was before all these states had legalized, gaming. So watching a Super Bowl in Vegas is pretty cool.
Yeah. And you know what? That's my only explanation to why so many people showed up to Radio Row, right? It's
Yeah.
Vegas, baby. Who doesn't want to go?
Yeah.
I know gambling's legal in more states now, but there's still, there's still nothing like going into the casino and putting the bet down at the window.
It's Vegas. I mean, it's it is the adult Disneyland.
Pretty much. That's a great way to describe it.
Yeah, you really go there. I mean, look, even if you like gambling, that's great. But Vegas is a great place to just go watch concerts, shows. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do that doesn't include, wagering. So if you want to go out and bet, that's cool too. But you can go out bet and still have a good time doing 3 or 4 different things.
Yeah, when I was there, people kept telling me go check out the comedy club. Right, there was one on the rooftop of my hotel. So, other people were telling me you got to go check out this club. So there's lots. Yeah. There's lots to do, even if you don't gamble.
Right, and they've got games. They've got all kinds of stuff going on out there, and it's just fun. So, yeah, I can understand why Radio Row, even though I thought, it would be ridiculously expensive, and it is. But if you're going to blow the budget, blow the budget.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but now when you get, do you spend much time as you get ready for the game? Do you spend much time paying attention to what goes on between now and Saturday, or is it kind of like, I got other things I can pay attention to?
Yeah, I pay attention to everything just to keep on tabs. But the important thing is I've already made my decision on the game, and I won't let anything sway it.
Any outside,
yeah.
noise.
Frankly, it doesn't matter. That was something I was talking about. Because like you're going to start hearing every day there's some crazy new one. Like the new one I heard today is how Taylor Swift's flight back from Japan is number 13, and her lucky number is 13, and there was something
Brock
something to
Purdy's
do.
number is 13.
Yeah, something about like the box she's in at the Super Bowl's 13, something with this. So this is what I mean, right? Like you're gonna start to see all that crazy stuff and stuff like that, and you just got to
Tune out the noise. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to remember it's two teams playing for the Super Bowl here. Then it's gonna get settled on the field. That's what matters.
Right, and there's a lot of other things going on which are involved in wagering between now and then. And you can't focus just on one thing because the world continues to turn. I found in working on the games and back in the day, the the time between Tuesday and Saturday went really fast because you're running around taping pieces and putting together packages and things that will be involved in the pregame show. So a lot of that stuff is being packaged and put together and getting events. I talked to you about the halftime show. A lot of the focus in that is going through. So there's rehearsals and all kinds of things that needs to be done. So the TV crew is pretty slammed from now till kickoff on Sunday. And so there's stuff that is being done, but that's why the vast majority of the people who are involved from a standpoint of just wanting to be there for the events come in maybe Thursday, because if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Thursday night it's either Thursday night or Friday night. Commissioner Goodell has his party, and then there's a couple of other big parties that go on. And if you have a chance to go to them, it's really kind of a cool thing. And then there's a bunch of people who are just fans of Super Bowl, and they're performers and things like that who throw their own parties. So there's the parties begin usually around Thursday and go all the way up into kickoff. So that's when you see those private jets flying into town.
Yeah, the escorts coming to gotta close the roads down.
Right.
Get everybody where they need to be.
Right, and
Goodell and Taylor coming through.
Right. Think about the amount of time, effort that that some of these casinos pay for the whales who come into town. There are guys who spend a lot of money during the season, and Super Bowl just happens to be in town this year, and I wouldn't want to be concierge people in Vegas, because there's just no way in hell you're going to be able to get everything that these people want.
Yeah, definitely. So I wonder how it is this time, because I know March it's very busy with. There's also other stuff going on, like
right.
the construction expos, and there's a ton of stuff like that when I went to it during March Madness. But it's. I don't really have firsthand experience of how busy it would be, but I assume it's going to be, especially since the Super Bowl is there, it's going to be crazy probably.
I can remember that UNLV was playing UCLA, back when I was there, and people were literally spending $100 to $200 to go to a UNLV UCLA basketball game, because it was a live event. They wanted to go see something live, and it's like, okay, face value on those tickets are $20, but all right, fine, whatever you want. If you don't mind sitting in the student section, I think you can probably do pretty well. So yeah, it's events. People want to go to events, and and it's in Vegas, so there's even more. But it's we're gonna see how this whole thing plays out, but not until Sunday. So till that time, we'll just have to keep on keeping on. Of course, the big game tonight is Charlotte visiting the Yingling Center and playing against South Florida, our adopted team here. And the Bulls, you tell me, are a 2-point underdog.
No. They're favorite.
Oh, they're favored. I'm sorry.
Yeah. They opened as a 2.5 point favorite,
Oh, and they got
and
it bet down.
it's come down to -2. So yeah,
Charlotte money come flooding through.
little bit of early Charlotte money there. So yeah, it's stayed. It's pretty much. I haven't checked, but it's pretty much stayed at -2 since this morning. So
well, there you go. I mean, it is what it is. They work the transfer portal pretty well to get some of the players that they've got on their team. So it's a fun team to watch. And tonight, it's actually going to be on ESPN2, so the country can see the Bulls and the 49ers. The game is a 9:00 tip, which is an interesting time for a tip in in the Eastern time zone. Normally, you don't get those 9:00 tips, but
yeah, especially with both teams being from the Eastern time.
right,
So.
yeah. So you take a nap, boys. You're gonna need it. So yeah.
I saw that once before. It was a few weeks ago in the NBA, and it was like the Milwaukee Bucks or not even the Bucks. It was the Brooklyn Nets and another Eastern team, and it started at 8:40 in Brooklyn. I was like, why? It's like 9:00 in Brooklyn. Why is it starting so late?
Yeah, the trains are going to be loving you for that one. Yeah, there's 7 trains that literally go under the Barclays Center, so you can imagine what that would be like when the game is over. To get to your train and head back to either Manhattan or wherever you're going. But it's we used to do the back end of the ESPN doubleheader from the standpoint of they had a big Monday. Big Monday was usually a Big East game at 7 and a Big 10 game at 9. But half of the Big 10 is in the Central Time Zone, so that's only 8:00, which isn't too bad. But if you were doing, if you're at Michigan or if you're Ohio State or Penn State or something like that, then you had a 9:00 start. But at least it's a college basketball game, not a college football game.
Yeah. The college basketball is significantly shorter, at least.
Right. Even though some of those games could get, that last 45 seconds, if the game's close, can be drug out ridiculously long.
You know what I always say, Jim? The last minute of the game is the longest 10 minutes of the game.
It's true. It's 100% true. All right, let's win some money, boys and girls. Amedeus, tell us what's going on tonight.
Yeah, make sure you check out my premium picks at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. Coming off a 1-0 day, I only had the one play up yesterday on the Pelicans. They blew out, home team Raptors over here, but it was a bad situational spot. The Raptors had to fly from Dallas the day before, so
it was on a back. It was a back end of a 2-game series for them.
Yeah, so not a good spot for them. The Pelicans showed up, so thank you for that. Nice 1-0 day. Make sure you go check out my premium picks for tonight. I got 3 NBA as well as 5 college basketball, and I got a NBA game of the month and a college basketball game of the year that you can go get. So make sure you check that out. Some big money to be made tonight.
Let me ask you real quick before we leave, specifically on that point that you just made. Do you I mean, obviously factors in when the team's playing the back end of a night, a 2-night event. Is that a big deal, or does it just depend on the team?
Yeah, I find in basketball playing on a back-to-back is a big deal, but it's very dependent on the team as well. Like there are some young teams in the NBA where they have the legs to go, because it's just a lot of 20-year-olds just running around on the court, whereas maybe an older team like the Lakers, not so great on a back-to-back, and sometimes you gotta be weary. Like sometimes teams will rest players and they don't announce it till right before, but you have to know, right? Like if LeBron played in Oklahoma City and the Thunder are a very good team, and let's say they won that game, they got up for that game, then you know slight chance maybe someone gets rested the next night if they're in Minnesota or something like
Right.
that. So yeah, there's always a lot to take into account there for sure.
There's a great story about Larry Bird and the Celtics. They were going to play a game in the Meadowlands, and this time of the year, weather can be terrible. And that was back when they flew, when the NBA teams flew commercial. So they missed one plane, they missed another plane. I mean, from a standpoint of the weather was just so bad, the planes just kept getting canceled and canceled and canceled. Finally, they got out of it. Where were they? They got out of Cleveland, flew to Brooklyn, to Newark International Airport, and got off the plane. And the bus driver says, "Look, guys, I got time to take you to one place. We can take you to the hotel, or we can take you to the arena." And they said, "Well, we got to play the arena, so take us to the arena." So they go to the arena, and Bird walks out on the court and walks over to one of the guys with the nets. He goes, "Nothing personal, but I've been sitting around eating hot dogs all day. I just feel like beating somebody's ass, and it's yours tonight." So he said, so the guy turns around and says, "Yeah, what did we do to deserve this? And what the hell does the fact that you ate hot dogs all day have to do with the fact we're playing basketball tonight?" But it's Kevin McHale said everybody's dragging, and Larry just walks in and says, "Come on, guys, let's take whatever energy we got and just beat the living, take it out on the Nets." So unfortunately for the Nets, they actually did do it. So there it is. Anyway,
Wow.
so yeah, the back ends of those are tough. They're very
Yeah.
tough. It's I would say it's tougher in hockey, but it just depends, I suppose. Anyway, all right, we'll be back. We got tomorrow. We'll start looking a little bit closer about the game itself. We'll sit down and talk a little about the offenses. There's two really decent offenses here with a lot of little, the Swiss Army knife guys on their team, and probably talk a little bit about a Mr. Hushek who might have a pretty big role in how well the 49ers do in this game. So we'll talk about all that and more tomorrow. Till then, check out Amedeus' stuff in the show box below, and we'll be back at 2 o'clock ish tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.